Whoa! Oh, you dogs, who designed this knife? If you're in a survival situation, you're gonna be much better off with a rock. I bought the best-selling tactical knife on Amazon for $19.10. We need to find out if it's worth it. To do that, we're gonna test 3 things. How good is the build quality? Is it sharp? And will it survive our brutal testing process? My name's Kyle Royer, and you're watching Worth It. First, let's look at the build construction. Right off the bat, we've got a sheath that's some kind of plastic looking material, I think, and it's not half bad. I feel like it would really serve well to keep the blade safe, keep it from cutting you while you're carrying the knife. The knife itself actually feels kind of like a tank. It's got quite a bit of heft to it. It's got a ginormous like meat tenderizer kind of pommel here. It's literally got like the same texture your meat tenderizer has on the very end. The handle feels pretty good. It's a little bit on the round side, but that's normally what you get with this kind of K-bar style knife. The handle material itself is some kind of rubbery type thing, so it's not like a super hard plastic. It actually has a little bit of give to it. As far as the texturing or like the saw teeth thing up here on the top, I don't know if that serves any actual like function. It's extremely dull and they're just little triangular peaks. They're not like actual saw teeth or anything. The blade grind itself comes up the blade about halfway, so that looks pretty nice. I will say the blade edge looks thick. I do really like the black finish on the stainless steel blade. The handle also has a couple bolts going through it, supposedly to hold the handle together. I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like on the inside of the handle later, whether or not those bolts are actually doing anything or if they're just for looks. My final build construction score on this knife is gonna be a 4 out of 10. And now let's see if this knife is sharp straight from the factory. I've got myself a little chicken tender here. Okay, not too bad. Let's deleg it. Okay, there's a drumstick. There's another drumstick. Pretty good. It cuts it okay, but this chicken definitely has some thick skin and not much on the inside. Now I can see how it does on a piece of paper. Ooh, that was rough. Oh, yeah, it's pretty dull. I would say that's pretty dull. This thing's definitely not sharp from the factory, especially towards the tip. Let's see if we can change that. I'm at the Broadback sharpener. I'm gonna see if I can get this thing troll hair popping sharp. I got this thing, troll hair popping sharp. Let's see if it'll cut some paper. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's cutting paper very nicely. Let's have some more fun with this thing. I'm over at the tomato drop test area. I've got the blade all clamped up in a vise to hold it still. We're gonna see if gravity can cut this tomato across the blade. Whoa. Things are about to get messy, so I'm at the outdoor testing area. Let's start cutting this pineapple. Whoa! Oh yeah, that's pretty fun there. And then maybe one for the air. Yeah, woohoo, yeah.
Real quick, LearnKnifemaking.com is having its biggest sale of the year coming up on Black Friday. All of our online knife making courses will be 50% off. So if you want to learn the skills you need to make better knives, then check out LearnKnifemaking.com this Black Friday.
Since the Amazon description lists this as a hammerhead on the pommel, I thought we might as well drive a nail in. but I'm noticing something kind of strange here. I can wibble wobble this a lot. It looks like it's just kind of being held in by this screw back here that's just stuck through the plastic or something. So I don't know how that's gonna go. Let's try it anyway. So yeah, the pommel does not work as a hammer very well at all. All the weight of the blade is just completely lost as you're trying to hit the nail. And I felt like if I just barely missed, I would like hurt my fingers really bad. If you're in a survival situation, you're gonna be much better off with a rock. And finally, I wanna chop on a 2x4 a little bit. If it was a good quality knife, you'd be able to chop through 2x4 over and over and over again without damaging the blade. At the price point this knife's at, I wanna see if the edge chips, if it rolls over, and how sharp it stays during the chopping. Ooh. The edge on this thing is pretty thick and the blade isn't very long. You might be better off cutting with a Okay, so this thing does cut a little bit better than a rock, but not by too much. Feeling it, it feels like it's dulled a little bit. We can do a paper cut test on it. It's still sharp back here because I wasn't cutting on the 2x4 there. Pretty much cut on the 2x4 right in this area, and I feel like, yeah, I feel like that's really where it's really started to dull a little bit. It hasn't chipped or anything though, so that's good, but it's definitely not retained all its sharpness in this area. Before we give this knife its final sharpness score, we've got one last thing to cut. A real, raw, pink chicken. For the final sharpness score, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10. It came from the factory, kind of dull. It wasn't too hard to sharpen up though, and then we got pretty sharp, but it lost its edge after a little bit of 2x4 chopping, so that's why I'm going with that score.
And now I need to do the dishwasher test.
It's the next day. I just took the knife out of the dishwasher. I had it set on a brutal setting of pots and pans, high temperature, sanitized, rinse. It was in the dishwasher for over 3 hours. It didn't 100% survive the dishwasher. We did get some weird little blotches on the blade. The water or something kind of messed with the finish. Besides the patches on the blade, it looks like the rest of the knife came out of the dishwasher. Okay, it's time for the brutal testing. I've got the blade clamped up in the vise. I'm gonna put a cheater bar on it and bend over the blade or handle and see which breaks first, the Tang or blade. Here we go. Whoa! Okay, the blade broke in 2 places at the same time. Wow, it snapped right off. Like I didn't bend it over very much at all and it just kapow! That's crazy that it broke in 2 different places at the same exact time and we ended up with 3 pieces here. I'm also really happy that the Tang didn't break off. I still want to see if I can break the Tang off, so I'm going to clamp this little bit of the blade left in the vise and try to break the Tang off this time. There we go. That actually didn't take a lot of pressure. Oh, yep, there's your problem. There's some kind of a screw or something going through the Tang right up at the very front of the handle. That's definitely not what you want to see. Take a look at this. There's a little rounded spot right here. There's some kind of something right there going through the Tang, making the Tang super weak right next to the blade. I'm gonna find out if these screws are functional or just for looks by trying to remove them and see if we can take the rest of the handle apart. See if we can take the pommel off. Yep, and there's the pommel. Let's see if the Tang will come out now. Oh yeah, there it is. Looks like it's still wet from the dishwasher. So the screws were definitely functional, but because there's only 1 screw in this pommel piece, it made it so the only thing keeping it from swiveling around was the rubberized handle. The front screw went through right here. This is where the Tang broke off, right next to the blade. This hole has absolutely no function. It looks like there's just a chunk of metal filling in the hole too. I have no idea what that's for. There's definitely not any good reason that that should be there. You don't want any holes close to the blade and tang meet up right here because that'll give a weak spot. You want your hole further away from where the tang and the blade meet up. No. Oh, you dogs. Who designed this knife? Oh. Oh. I figured it out. This handle is like super rubberized and very squishy. So what's gonna keep the tang, or what's gonna keep the guard in place rather? What's gonna keep it from wobbling around and being loose? There it is right there. This is despicable that this is how they actually made the guard feel like it fits tight. That little pin sticks out a little bit on each side of the guard and actually makes it so the guard is pushed up against the blade. Because if the guard was up against the blade and you just had this little rubbery handle, you could probably kind of squish the guard around and kind of move it like we did with the pommel. So in one instance, it's really ingenious, and in another instance, it's absolutely despicable because it really ruins the strength of the tang having that hole right next to the blade like that. So for $19.10, is this knife worth it? I'm gonna say probably not. The blade seemed extremely brittle. It didn't take too much to break the blade. In fact, it flew apart in 2 different places. And then the tang was also pretty easy to break off. I definitely would not recommend this knife for anybody that's in the survival field, especially special ops like the blade says on one side of it. If you're in a survival situation, you'd be better off just with a rock. It would cut better. It would hammer nails in better. It'd probably do about everything better than this knife did. I will see you in the next video. May the forge be with you. Bye-bye. You almost killed me.
Major sales starting Black Friday. All courses 50% off.